All right. Well, are you good to go?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good stuff. Oh, well, welcome everyone to Law Hackers. Today we're talking to Andy Wilson, who's the CEO of Logikcull. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Andy, you do want to kick us off with the basic question. Tell us about Logikcull. What's your elevator pitch?
Yeah, so Logikcull is a cloud service that makes it really easy for legal teams to go through a lot of unorganized set of data very quickly. So specifically e-discovery and investigations, and then states and local governments use it for mining documents for FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act. Yeah, that's it.
Great. And what prompted you guys to create the tool? What was the trigger and inspiration behind it?
Yeah, I'll give you a quasi-short answer here. So I started this company in 2004 as an e-discovery services company. So we were bidding on projects and helping lawyers and whatnot. And we grew that very quickly, and it was very successful. We got on the Inc. 500 in 2009, and we were pressing on the gas, and then the world said not so fast, and
Put the brakes on?
yeah, we had already gone off the cliff.
Yeah.
So things came crashing down, and we almost went out of business. But that ended up giving us a lot of time to think about a better business model and some of the bigger problems that we could solve. And it just so happened, we had this insight for the past 5 years on a really complicated and expensive workflow, with e-discovery. And we wanted to solve that. We wanted to make that, just turn everything upside down, make the technology incredibly easy to use, make it affordable for everybody, make it accessible from anywhere you happen to be. And those are really simple ideas, but really hard, to implement. So, we wanted to build this primarily for ourselves in the beginning, and then, to give it to a much wider audience that we knew was going to need this type of technology. So we set out to build that, and that's what we ended up building.
So when you say wider audience, I mean, what's your main client base?
We primarily focus our efforts in the U.S., but we've had people from every continent other than Antarctica use Logikcull now because it's a cloud service. So, law firms and businesses and governments are inviting people in to collaborate on discovery projects from all over the place. But it's primarily in the U.S. and the U.S. is the largest market today, for discovery services. So
Yeah, and I guess so. Where are you guys at now? I mean, you've been going for a while. I mean, obviously you had the financial crisis as a rather large roadblock for a while. But I mean, in terms of profitability, you guys sort of bootstrapping or funded or on that side of things?
Yeah. So we're going to hit $1 billion in revenue in the next week.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I was about to. I almost swallowed that, and I was just about to.
I'm in my garage office here.
Yeah.
Don't let me fool you, but no, things are going good. I mean, I'm a bootstrapped entrepreneur, and we're really scrappy, and we're growing. We're hiring a lot of people. We've got 10 open positions right now. We just hired 3 people, mostly in sales and marketing. So things are picking up, growing very quickly. So, we're looking at it this way, like we're not so much concerned about profitability, even though we're a bootstrap company. It's important to us. Right now, we're interested in growth, and everything that's coming in is going right back into hiring and building the team because the demand is there. We're growing revenue at 25% month over month. And so we're growing very quickly.
Fantastic. And I guess you've already maybe touched on one of your bigger lessons learned, but I mean, you've been through the worst of it. I mean, aside from that, I mean, what are some of your lessons that you can sort of take forward and share with us?
Oh man, that's a long conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few. I mean, can you think of 1, 2, or your top ones, or something more recent?
Well, so the thing with us was, I guess it kind of goes down, like if you boiled it to something really simple, it would be, be relentless, don't give up too easily. I mean, that's kind of, cliche to say, But like where I am in the Bay Area, there's a bit of a culture about failure, and the way that people are thinking about it is in my opinion, not the right way to look at it. Almost like failure is a good thing. It's more about testing and moving on. But the reason why I say be relentless is, market timing is a big deal, right? You might have, and entrepreneurs tend to think in the future, right? You think, a couple years down the road, and the market might not be ready for that today. We had the idea of what we're doing in 2008. We started thinking like, man, if we had all this time, we could do this, we could build this thing, but we don't have enough time. and then the world gave us time. So market timing is big, and you can get lucky, and you can create a product in a market that's ready for it. But I think more often than not, entrepreneurs will create something, and it could be amazing. But the market's just not ready for it, and you need to think about that, right? And don't give up too easily because of that, because the market eventually could be really ready for it. We're a great case study on that, because we were ready for doing this on a very simple form in 2009. Market wasn't ready. They said, hell no, that's insane. We're not going to put our clients' sensitive data in the cloud. No way. And we just bided our time, and at that, over those years, we ended up building a better product. We were really stubborn about it because we were just relentless on this vision that everybody's going to have to do this. We're probably the best company to build this because we have so much intimate knowledge of the challenges that these people face, especially from a technical standpoint. It better be us, And so we just head down, work through it, and it's only recently, 2013, that the market really started to pick up, and they were adopting, cloud-based technology. Law firms, legal especially, there's typical laggards of technology trends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys have been hard at it and been through the tough times as well as what's looking like some pretty positive times. But you're not the only, I guess, e-discovery player in the market.
What? Sorry.
There are a few. I mean, what makes you guys unique?
Oh man, we could go on all day about this, but I can tell you, some of the things that we saw on the market, doing this for so long. So there aren't a lot of e-discovery companies, or claim to be e-discovery companies. Even law firms, to a certain extent, can claim to be an e-discovery company. So you've got two sides. You've got services companies and you have software companies, right? And that's kind of the makeup of the market. And the services companies, what they do is they subsidize the cost of capital, equipment, and expensive teams with deep knowledge about e-discovery workflows. And then they, bring in projects from law firms and businesses, right? And then on the software side, you have, legacy companies out there like Clearwell Systems, which is Symantec now, or HP, Autonomy, and what they have traditionally sold is on-premise installed software.
Right.
Very, very heavy equipment, literally and figuratively, from a cost standpoint, and that's not affordable, right, to a lot of people. So that's why you have the services companies to kind of subsidize that. Yep. But the services companies, which are the vast majority of the e-discovery market, aren't that efficient, right? It's kind of the ATM bank teller, right? You want to draw money out, you got to call somebody, you got to wait in line. There's so many points of friction in place there. And then on the software side, you got to call somebody, you got to get a quote, you got to do the installation, you got to get training, you got to hire people to do all that stuff, and that's the majority of the market. We are not that at all. So. And not to say we're not the only company doing this, but there's really only a handful that can lay claim to a true cloud discovery solution where you don't need a vendor, you don't need a service provider, you don't have to install anything, it's totally self-serviced. I can count them on one hand, how many companies that are really can lay truth to that claim. So in that regard, our market's actually pretty small. Now everybody's trying to move that way. The big companies are realizing that these old models of on-premise technologies and these big teams of service providers, it's not the wave of the future. Software is automating a lot of those tasks. People are moving to the cloud because they don't want to have all this expensive equipment and installations and just a mess of a workflow. And there's such a better option out there. So we're really different in that way. But it gets better because we're the only company that has, as far as we know, has automated the e-discovery process so that anybody can do it, and that's where we spend a lot of our time. So it's so simple. You can take, let's just say like you had a zip file sitting on your desktop, right? And in that zip file were 1,000 other zip files, and then within that some of those zip files were email databases and spreadsheets and all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
Well, today you've got to walk through somebody who's going to tell you like, well, what do you want to do with that data? And it's very cumbersome. What we've done is drag, drop, upload.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. So all the technology complexity has been completely been removed. It's invisible behind the scenes, and that's enabled people to upload tons and tons of data. This time next year, at the rate that the rate that we are going right now, we'll be seeing roughly 5 to 7 terabytes of data uploaded into Logikcull across all customers every single month.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we've automated that whole piece. So you can upload, we have customers that upload entire hard drives of stuff. They have no idea what's in there, and the software rips through it, organizes it, makes it searchable, and then voila, here's all this information that maybe you didn't know exists.
Yeah. Well, look, it sounds like a fantastic value prop. I just wanted to finally finish off on the question I always ask. Legal tech, it's really going through that boom. The time is now. Lots of action in the space. I mean, do you have any particular ones that take your fancy?
Man, I help organize. I don't do much, but I help organize a legal tech meetup in the Bay Area. It's mostly Tim Wang and a couple other guys. So there's some interesting companies that we see here. Ravel Law is one that's pretty cool. They've got some venture-backed money from Peter Thiel and Coastal Ventures, I think. Lex Machina is doing some pretty cool stuff. Know those guys fairly well.
Yep.
Clio, obviously, I don't know if you could say like they're doing like super cool techie stuff that like an engineer would be interested in, but they're definitely solving a big problem, in centralizing a legal practice solution in the cloud and making it really easy. That's cool in itself. And they're obviously growing like a weed. And there's a bunch of others that are starting to come out. Diligence Engine, and I think you talked with Noah.
Yeah,
I think that's
spoke to them last week.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's a good example, I think, of market timing. Like Noah is like way into the future, right? Like he's just like, and that's awesome. I'm right there with him. But the market might not be ready for it now, but it will be in a major, so better to be early than never, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think that lesson on market timing is a pretty profound one. So let's hope. Well, it sounds like you guys are hitting that market timing quite nicely, and been through the bad times and now seeing the good times. But look, I better wrap it up. The viewers probably saw my hard drive is almost full. That flashed up on the screen before, so I better say goodbye for now. And thanks for your time today.
Yeah. Thanks you.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.